You know, whenever I have a bad day at the office, I look to AEW to cheer me up. Not because I have my Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho figures, but because my new Cody figure from Walmart or RingsideCollectibles.com can smash them both. Get out of here. Get to Walmart. Pick them up from Jazzwares. Let's get to a few questions. We got tons of questions. There's no ways we'll get to them all. A friend of the show, Joel Wood, wants to know, I'd heard rumors around this time that Eddie was scheduled to win the world title sometime between this show and the day he passed. Of course, we're going to talk about that a lot more later, I'm sure, but was there a plan for another run here, or at that point was Eddie more of a character more so than a champion?
I think that there was talk of Eddie possibly capturing the championship between then and WrestleMania. It was talk at that point. There was no decision or anything set in stone that we were looking at Eddie winning on a certain date or at a certain event, but there was definitely talk of it.
Arguck the Butcher wants to know how many caskets have been used for The Undertaker since his debut, and did Taker keep any of them? You and I know the warehouse has what feels like dozens. But yeah, that is kind of a fun question. I wonder how much you spent over the years at Caskets R Us.
Quite a bit. You know, in the beginning, when you had to have a license to even get a casket, that was tricky. And then when I think it's Costco actually got to the point where you could buy caskets, but you still you couldn't buy 10, you could buy your casket. And we were able to, at that point, you know, come on, it's Hollywood, and Hollywood built their own caskets. We just got to the point where they would sell you wholesale caskets, a bunch of caskets if you needed them.
Fernando wants to know, does Bruce prefer heel Eddie Guerrero or babyface Eddie Guerrero?
Didn't matter to me. They were one and the same because they were both so fucking good. And I think you loved Eddie all the way through. So there wasn't much difference other than just skewing one way and who his opponent was at the time.
Dro asks, Shawn Michaels said in an interview that for the following WrestleMania, he was lobbying hard for an Eddie Shawn WrestleMania match. That obviously would have been a great match. Do you remember that being kicked around as a possibility?
It was kicked around as a possibility because they had never worked together. And that was at least in my head, a dream match. That was one of those that I definitely would love to have seen.
Matt wants to know, would Bruce often bring his family to shows when they were in his hometown of Houston, Texas?
Yeah. If it was close. I have a weird thing on that. I like to keep business and family separate. However, they're fans too, and they like to come, and in the hometown. Yes. I would bring them around, but I'm just so old school that I like to keep things separate. And when my family's there, I'm worried about them. I don't want to be worried about them and have to do my job too. Not so much anymore, but when it was kids in there, I'm a worrywart.
Last one. Corey wants to know all the details about singing Happy Birthday to Eddie that night. Corey was in attendance and found this fun and a little odd, maybe rare to kind of break kayfabe like this, but immediately after the pay-per-view feed is done for the live crowd, we get to sing Happy Birthday to Eddie Guerrero. Whose idea is this, and what do you remember about it?
I think it was Vince's idea, just in general, that, what if we did this? And it was unexpected. Eddie didn't know, obviously. And it was just a fun thing to do for a performer like that, to have all of his peers acknowledge him and come out and have fun with a happy birthday is a nice thing to do.
I really had fun with this episode. I'm looking forward to next week too. We've had a great time here on Something to Wrestle, but next week I am going to be in my feels. We're talking about the October 13th, 1990 episode of Saturday Night's Main Event. I love these old Saturday Night Main Event episodes. This one's no different. It's from Toledo, Ohio. Vince McMahon and Roddy Piper are going to be your hosts. The theme of this show is Oktoberfest. We get Demolition against the Legion of Doom and the Road Warrior. We get Macho King Randy Savage with Queen Sherry Rhodes taking on Dusty Rhodes. This is just great stuff, man. How about Tugboat and Hulk Hogan on one side, Rhythm and Blues on the other, Haku versus Texas Tornado, Coco Beware versus Sergeant Slaughter. This is great stuff. I love 1990. Can't wait to talk about this with you next week. What do you think we'll touch on next week when we cover this show?
We're going to cover the whole goddamn thing, Connie.
Well, goddamn, I thought maybe you had a fun insight or some way to send us out of here, but I guess you got to go.
But see, here's the thing, man, is you got to listen for the insight. I'm going to give you insight.
You ain't got to get hot about it.
Ha.
Hey, let me ask you this.
What do you want to hear about?
Your mom. When we hang up, when we're
My
done.
mom's dead.
Well, maybe you could get your flux capacitor out and go back in time to the future. You see, you're going back to the future with your 1.21 gigawatts. Are you going to go work on your flux capacitor when this is over? Or are you going to go work on SmackDown?
That's a hard one. I don't know.
Hey, it's Conrad Thompson. Thanks for checking out the podcast here on YouTube. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notifications bell so you get a notice anytime we upload some new content. And go save yourself some money right now. If you're in a 30-year loan or you have credit card debt, it's not a matter of if I can save you money. It's a matter of how much. Find out right now for free at SaveWithConrad.com.